here with Stacey Mitchell, our co-host. Just a reminder, if you got a question, you want to get in touch with us while we're on the show here, our email address is info@tooletimeradio.com. We are live on WWDB 860 AM. And Stacey and I got some juicy stuff to talk about this week, at least as juicy as real estate can be, right? So what we want to get into first, and again, if you got any questions about anything we're talking about here, just email us, info@tooletimeradio.com. There's been talk, I would say nonstop, since May 19th of last year, that it is tough to find a house right now. Is it fair, accurate? I mean, what are you hearing on the front line, Stace?
It's definitely fair. That's for sure. It's tough to find a home. The inventory is lopsided in the sense that there's many more buyers than there are homes on the market.
So there's more buyers than homes available. Supply and demand. We've heard this before. So rather than focus on the problem, we are solution-oriented people here. And again, a reminder, we work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 real estate team. And Stacey's giving the #1 finger with RE/MAX since 2018. And what we want to talk about here today is there was an interesting article that came out on Inman News right over the holiday weekend about 6 different ways to find a diamond in the rough. And it is tedious searching for a home. I don't care if it's a good market. It's still hard finding a home. I mean, this is a big investment. It's a big decision. And sometimes you feel like you're never going to find what you want, especially when you're looking for that 20-year property. I mean, I find that's the most difficult one. The first-time buyers are like, we'll be here 10 years. We'll make it work. It's that move up or premium purchase that you're trying to make. So what Inman did, they broke down exactly 6 ways that they felt would be great ways to find a diamond in the rough. And it involves some strategy here, which I like. So we're going to go through each one, and I want to hear the merits of both, pitfalls, and we'll kind of go back and forth about this here. So the first source that Inman News came up with, off-market properties, specifically for sale by owners, abandoned properties, pre-foreclosure, pre-divorce. That's kind of a big gamut there, right? So when you see off-market properties, I think some of these are more likely than others. You're working with a buyer, or you're trying to find a home for yourself, or you're a seller trying to get into a new home. What do you think about this as a potential source of finding a new property?
Well, I know as far as FSBOs, for sale by owners, that's definitely a resource that we've been utilizing and have had success. There's been a few agents on our team that have been able to get under contract.
Brian Blauk sold one yesterday on Memorial Day. So, I mean, that's a very viable one.
Correct.
There's not a lot of them.
Not a lot of them, no.
But again, it's diamond in the rough, so there's not going to be a lot of stuff here in the first place.
Correct. But, but they're out there. It seems to be that sellers are risking and saying, nope, we're going to sell ourselves. And these are opportunities for our buyers. If they do see a for sale by owner sign, stop and get a phone number, or you can do searches on different websites for sale by owner. And if there's something out there for them that they want to take a look at, we can definitely arrange that.
Yeah, the for sale by owner is the most viable of what they're talking about here. And then it kind of gets into these other...
into the weeds.
Yeah, these other sources. So abandoned properties. And when you go deeper in the article, homes that look like they're getting work done to get ready for the market. You see the dumpster outside. It looks like someone hasn't been there for a while. I mean, yeah, people in the neighborhood kind of know when there's that vacant property that hasn't been occupied for 4, 5, 6 years, or even just 12 months. So when I see that, my view of that is that it's a little different than a for sale by owner, because they may not have any intent to sell. They may not have real intent to do something. What do you think about pre-foreclosure and pre-divorce?
Well, pre-foreclosure, I've had some people ask me about pre-foreclosure. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go to foreclosure. It just means that possibly they're behind on their mortgage. There's some taxes due. So that, to me, seems more like a dead end. And because it's may or may not come to fruition. Most likely it won't come to fruition as a foreclosure. And foreclosures are a little bit tricky and difficult also. So I tend to steer my clients away from those types of properties for sure.
you got to know what you're getting into.
Mhm.
It can be a lot of work buying that home. It might be as is. You're dealing with a bank. Pre-foreclosure, all it means is they missed a mortgage payment and now they're in a different bucket with their lender. It doesn't mean the home's necessarily coming onto the market. So that's a really great observation. What do you think about pre-divorce?
Pre-divorce? Oh.
How do you find that out even?
Yeah, how do you know that? Nosy neighbors or something? Family members? I'm not sure, but I would think that would be kind of a dead end also. You don't know if it's gonna happen. You don't know what's gonna happen. They could buy each other out.
Good
It's
point.
just a personal situation. I'd rather stay out of that.
Well, and to your point, you don't know if it's going to happen. So, I
Mhm.
mean, they might buy each other out. You think there's kids involved, other things are happening. They don't want to uproot their entire family,
Right.
and maybe they can't agree on something. There's a lot of times where I've seen that the judge has to tell them, "You need to hire this particular agent," and But again, this is meant to be looking like under every stone, trying to find those needle in a haystack properties for sale by owners. Much more likely. The
Mhm.
abandoned properties are the ones getting work done. There are some signs there. You might get lucky there. I mean, that might be a door knocking situation, especially now that things are getting lifted and people are a little more comfortable with in person activities. Pre-divorce, pre-foreclosure, a little tougher. I agree with you wholeheartedly there. So that was the first lead source they came up with. Number two, badly marketed properties, expired listings, and rentals. What do you think about this?
I think this is your expertise.
Right. Well,
Yeah, so badly marketed properties. Oh, yeah. That happens quite often. You'll see a home that has really bad pictures in the listing information. It's been on the market for a little while, and it's probably because it's been badly marketed. They're only listed on the MLS. They're not doing a lot of our marketing techniques that we use, and the pictures are horrible. So people rule that out right off the bat from the pictures. It could be a great house, but if the pictures aren't enticing and luring the buyers to actually schedule an appointment, it's not going to move very quickly. Expired listings, I think that is definitely a great place to investigate and try to pull the buyers into
mhm.
seeing these expired listings. So reach out, call the owners or call the sellers, find out why. What happened? Why is the listing expired? Did their situation change? Was it just badly marketed and they got frustrated and took it off the market? So what's the reason behind the expired listing?
I love both of these. And rentals we'll talk about in a second. Badly marketed properties, you're absolutely right. If you know what you're looking for and are willing to take your search to the next level, not just look at the sexy homes with the professional photography that are staged, that are redone, badly marketed properties can go a long way. I bought a badly marketed home. It was on the market for, I think, 14 months. And then it came off the market and was still under contract with the agent. And that kind of piqued our interest because there was a lot of reasons why it wasn't moving. You mentioned marketing, bad photos, it's priced way out of whack. I mean, we're talking about a 30 to 40% differential from where the actual value was, where it came to the market. So those sort of homes, there's an opportunity there. It depends how motivated the seller is going to be, right?
Mhm.
How serious they are about moving. And that's where, if it's like a vacant home and it's badly marketed, well, they're probably not moving back in. So there's nothing to lose by going and pursuing that property. And in general, I think all of these buyers need to be okay making offers if they see it lingering on the market because of the market conditions the way they are right now. A lot of folks, they get scared that my offer's not going to get accepted.
Mhm.
And we've had a lot of success as a team, individually. I know you've done this where you write the offer on the home and if it was on the market a day, it probably wouldn't fly. But when it's like 7, 10, 15 days on the market, 30 plus. We talked about time on market last week. So you can, and we have that streaming on our Facebook page now. So you can actually go back and look at it. When you're in that high days on market, that's where there's opportunity. So I totally agree with this here. Expired listings is another one. Think about both of those types of properties. They signed listing contracts with real estate agents to sell their home.
Correct.
That is a sign of intent,
Yes.
right? They put a sign up. They
Mhm.
had people come through their property. They're ready for showings. None of this stuff is fun. Anyone that dresses this up and says it's fun having your home on the
Mm.
market, they haven't been through it, or they're living in a fantasy world because it is unless you're not living in the property. Obviously, if it's vacant, different story. So those are two great sources because those people had real intent to sell, and it didn't work out for whatever reason. And in an uber competitive market where demand outweighs supply, this is the stuff you need to be looking at. What about
Mhm.
rentals? What do you think about that?
Rentals, it could be an opportunity. I guess if the price is right, most investors, if it is a rental property, you could entice them to, if you write up an offer, why not?
At what
Give it a
number are
shot.
you a seller, right?
Exactly,
I mean,
right. Everybody has a number.
well, and especially now with a lot of the legislation coming out that makes it not, I mean, 1031 exchanges may be off the books, the raise in capital gains tax. There's things that may cause some of these people that are landlords to just say, you know what, it's time to cash out. Let's move on.
Right.
So, again, if you're going to pursue these, what I would advise anyone is whether it's with an agent, hopefully you're working with a good agent that can guide you. Make sure it's an area where you're serious about. Like it can't just be a one-off and maybe hope it works out. It's got to be, I want to live on this street. My family's got to live here. That's where you're going to have a lot of success with these. The more focused you can be, the better off you can be. So those are some good sources there. A little better than the pre-foreclosure, pre-divorce. The third source, and this is geared towards agents trying to produce inventory for their clients, just to give some perspective here, is past clients.
Mhm.
What do you think about this, Stace?
Sure. Absolutely. We've seen that too in the short past here. Reach out to past clients, see how they're feeling since COVID. Are they comfortable in their home? Do they need a bigger home since COVID? Do they think their home's too big and they want to downsize? So it's definitely an opportunity that we've been able to actually have success in that area.
Well, and there's people out there that you bring up a question. Has COVID changed the way you view your home? And there's a lot of data. There was some data that just came out that said 63% of people that bought a home recently of millennials they had some sort of regret about buying their home. And that's always going to happen in that initial first time purchase, right? You don't know what you're getting into. We've seen a lot of past clients where they bought a home a year, 2 years, 3 years ago, and all of a sudden, because of the incredible appreciation that we've seen, where it's a little over 1% a month, unheard of ever, that now folks are saying, well, if I can get this number, I'm willing to make a move. Maybe they've retired. Maybe they want to move out of the area. We've seen a lot of that happening. Maybe they're downsizing. Maybe they can afford a bigger property now. There's a lot of folks that we ran into that, they were in medical sales or their business took off during the pandemic, which has happened to a lot of people. And all of a sudden they're able to get into a home they didn't think they could get into. So if you're an agent and you're not talking to your past clients, somebody else is. And you're going to lose that business. So I do love this one. This is one of the better ones they came up with here. Number 4, networking and pocket listings. Your take.
I definitely think networking is a good idea. Definitely. If you've worked with other agents in closing a deal together, I reach out, shoot them a text. What do you have coming up? Do you know anything new? That to me has been very helpful in this market.
What they talk about here, and this to me is very interesting, is brokerages and teams that take the time to curate a database of pocket listings or coming soon property over years. It's not like a week long process here, over years, because there's always that person that says, "I'm a seller at X," or "If you bring along an offer, I'll work with you." And they're never going to hire a real estate agent. It's not going to happen. If you take the time to do that while following the NAR clear cooperation policy guidelines, meaning you can't market it, you can only market it inside your brokerage, inside your team. To me, this is something that everyone should be looking at when they talk to those folks that aren't, there's just some people that aren't going to hire an agent, but they're ready to sell. And I don't agree with that. It's going to end up hurting them. We'll talk about that actually in our next segment, about how that kind of works. But the point is, if you have the data and you can produce real buyers, not the old real estate trick of, "Hey, Stacey, I got a buyer for your home. Can I come by and look at it?" And you're just there trying to get a listing, because that never works. When you act like that as a real estate agent, just don't even show up for the appointment. It's not going to turn out well for you. So the point is that if you take the time to do that, then you're going to be able to build a database that has some value. Now, you're talking about networking with other agents, which to me is equally important, because people aren't nice. Like, real estate agents aren't nice to each other.
Right.
I mean, you should see the conviction in her face right now saying that to me. So just being nice and treating someone like a professional goes a long way in this business, because some of the agents get a little crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And if you build a relationship with other agents, they do think of you when new homes are coming on the market. If they have something that's getting ready to list, they'll reach out. "Hey, I have XYZ coming up. Do you have any buyers?" So I totally appreciate that, and I do the same. So I think, it's a small circle in the long run as far as our community of agents. So how you treat other people is going to come back to you.
Well, the good news is 87% of them will be out of the business in 5 years if you follow the stats. So hopefully all these people that
Yes.
were mean to you aren't in the business in 5 years. And then they talk about pocket listings here, and I think pocket listings you got to be careful with. It's kind of the same thing. Networking more is going to your network of agents and knowing who's doing business in the area, and that to me is a real value prop for when you're representing a buyer and a seller. Because if you can go to a seller and say, "Hey, I know there's 10 agents that are working with buyers here right now. I know who they are. I communicate with them regularly. Let me see if they have a buyer for your home." You're showing your value, and that makes a big difference. As opposed to just sticking it on the MLS and hoping somebody shows up, which is what most agents do. From the perspective of networking with folks, I mean, again, and leveraging your team, your company, your organization, your brokerage, whatever it is, following the rules. That can, I mean, we've done this. We'll see this happen often. Where, hey, I have a buyer for this property. I know someone that might be interested. Then ultimately, the seller is the one that wants to handle that. And we had Brian, who we mentioned earlier from our team. He sold a home. I guess it was Friday night. He sold this property, and it was they knocked on the door because they saw that she might have been moving, and it was another agent. And we're sitting there, and the agent is being so difficult to work with. He said to me, "Well, what's the point of working with her if she's going to make this problematic?
Right.
She should be happy she got in. It doesn't have to compete with everybody else."
Right.
So, but that's an example of kind of using some of these strategies here. So. That looks like it could be hit or miss, but certainly knowing who are the players in the market has a lot of value. So we got two more here,
Okay.
and we'll take a break. So the next one's buyer advertisements. So let me read this to you to give everyone some perspective. For the agent or brokerage that's already getting great return on their social media and marketing tactics, creating and pushing out advertisements for their buyers that are searching for a new home may prove very fruitful. Create a home wanted ad that describes what kind of property the buyer is looking for. Then talk about the buyer's qualifications, and run ads. And we've done some stuff like this, whether it's a direct mail campaign or things like that. What do you think about this? I have an opinion on it, but tell me what you think first, Stace.
I think if you have pretty good outreach on your social media, Facebook, Instagram, you can definitely do, quick video. Hey, I have some buyers. I just missed out on, 5 offers that we put in. If anybody has a home in, this certain whatever area they're looking for, please let me know. And I think that could help out. I really do.
Well, and I agree with you, with the caveat that it has to be a specific need, and they have to be very clear on, I want to live in this neighborhood or in this type of home or in this part of the neighborhood or whatever that is. Because if it's too general, so for example, let's say somebody says, I'm going to live in Westchester. Well, guess what? There's 6 different municipalities in Westchester.
Right.
You got to pare it down a little bit.
And every different price point.
Yeah, for sure. Someone says, I want to live in Lower Merion. Well, I mean, Lower Marion's a big area. It's got 6 different zip codes. Same thing. So the point is that it's got to be specific. And where I've had success with this in the past, I've had a couple clients where they wanted to live in Marion Golf, which is right next to the golf course. Okay, that's a very defined neighborhood. We sent out a direct mailer. We got 3 responses on it. And then they ended up buying something else anyway. They came on the market where they didn't call us, but that wasn't the point. We were creating opportunities there. That's proving your worth as an agent. I love what you said at the beginning. Shoot a video, because video engages so much better. And especially if you're going to put it on social media, and there's the ability to boost it and advertise it. And it's not just a static post. It actually has a reach outside your network. So my view, it sounds like you're in agreement, is in the right situation, this can be really effective.
Totally.
All right, the last one here, and then we'll go to break, is farming. So every agent knows about farming, and we're not talking about like where I grew up out in Chester Springs, where there's like a dairy farm or something. This is a targeted, detailed, direct mail campaign to homeowners that explain why their property would do well on the market. And it kind of is. This is almost the same as the last one where we mentioned direct mail, because direct mail to me is something that is still really effective. So it says the more data on the buyer, the better, to make it real. And it's about being proactive. So what do you think about this? And we kind of hit on this already.
Same thing. Correct. Definitely, if you have buyers that want a very specific area, this is very effective. I guess you can even go to like door hangers. If you go around the neighborhood, door knocking. I think we can do that now.
Yes.
Since COVID. Yep. So I think it's very targeted. and very detailed, and it could be very, very effective.
Well, and we've had success with this. I mean, this is
Mhm.
documented. We've gotten calls, return messages. The thing here that I would say is if you're going to commit to mail and spend some money as an agent, or you're expecting your agent to spend some money as a buyer, make sure they're not just only mailing. Like, call into the neighborhood, door knock, like you said, put some sweat equity into it, because you never find things in sales, and no matter what the sale is, you never find what you're looking for until you take the action to do it. So it's really easy to send out a mailer and do nothing.
Right.
It's sending a mailer, making phone calls, door knocking. Well, then you're going to produce something for your client. So, and this doesn't stop buyers from doing this themselves. I mean, if,
Mhm.
buyers have every ability to knock on doors and send mailers out and talk to people on private Facebook groups about, hey, I'm looking to find a home. Do you know anything that's coming on the market? All these things apply there too. It's the savvy agent's the one that's bringing these solutions to the table. Anything
Indeed.
else we missed? Anything else they should have talked about here in terms of, because I got one, in terms of ways to find that diamond in the rough.
Tell me your one. I can't think of
So
one.
shadow inventory, right?
Oh, yeah,
So
shadow inventory.
in our marketplace, in the Bright MLS, there's a couple different MLS statuses. We talked about expireds. There's also withdrawn listings, meaning they're still under an active listing contract, and TO listings, same thing.
Mhm.
And these are people, again, that had real intent, ready to buy or sell, and they signed a contract, and they're still, well, now you don't know the situation, but that's an easy way to email that stuff to your client, or as the buyer, ask your agent to email it to you. If you like what you see, then you can follow up on it, and oftentimes you're
Mhm.
getting a better perspective on the home. So that's the
Mhm.
one thing here I didn't really see that should be talked about. Now, every MLS has different statuses, so maybe that's why it wasn't included here. This is a national article, so a lot of stuff here is pretty effective. I didn't agree with some of it, but for the most part, I mean, there's no
It's
rules in real estate, right? It's just about
correct.
delivering the result to your client. That's what counts.
That's what counts.
All right, so on that note, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to come back next and talk about a lawsuit between a discount brokerage and real estate mega website Zillow. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliance's Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
The real estate market is red hot. Have you considered taking advantage? Call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX at 610-692-6976 or visit our website, tomtoole.com, to connect and take advantage of these market conditions.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Mortgage America's equal housing number, NMLS 128501.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. And we work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team since 2018 in Pennsylvania and in Delaware. So as we talk through this next topic here, I find this one so interesting because there is a war going on in real estate right now. And most agents have no idea. The consumers, I mean, 95% of people aren't even making a real estate decision, maybe 92% based on some of the numbers I've seen. So what's happening now is there is a big tech and standard sort of normal brokerage business that are emerging. And some of the people on the brokerage side think they're part of the tech side, and some of the people on the tech side are getting into the brokerage world. But this is how things are going, and you're going to see more and more stuff like this. So the preface of this story is that there's a company called Rex Real Estate, and their CEO, Jack Ryan, they are now in a lawsuit with Zillow, who you've probably heard of. So Rex filed this brief in a case against Zillow and NAR and points to deceives consumers and banishes competition. And what this means is that Rex is a discount brokerage. They come out, they don't really do a whole lot for you. I've vetted my own home through their process, so I have firsthand knowledge. We're going to quote some stuff from their website here, and they are filing this brief, and they're calling it the segregation rule, and that it has no place in real estate because they want to make all listings accessible to all consumers through digital technology and an honest approach to every customer. And Zillow and NAR now they're complaining because Zillow is not posting their listings there, even though Rex does not participate in the MLS. And the MLS, the multiple listing service, they don't do it anywhere. And that's basically the bone to pick in the whole lawsuit here. And their CEO wrote an op-ed why we're taking on Zillow in its own backyard, and that discount brokerages shouldn't stand by why Zillow and NAR segregate discount brokerages from traditional brokerages on Zillow's site, so consumers are less likely to view listings created by discount brokerages like Rex. So what do you think about all this, Stacey?
Well, Zillow is following a certain set of rules. And
what rules are those?
They're a brokerage.
Mhm.
So they have to follow a certain set of rules. So it changed. And I think what happened is Rex, pretty much their business model was based on picking data from Zillow, from Google, and other websites. And that's how they were matching buyers and sellers. They were saying they were acting on behalf of everyone and, having a mission. I think it's 2.5 cents.
Mhm.
That's my understanding.
Their listing fee, and they call it a fee on their website,
Mhm.
and they say they don't charge a commission, but then it's structured just like a commission.
Correct.
And their fee ranges from 2 to 2.5% on their website.
Right. Instead of doing like a transaction, where it would be a 1% fee, they are charging a commission.
Mhm.
So it's interesting, but the fact that they thought that the lawsuit was self-serving and they haven't conspired with anyone to harm Rex.
Well, the funny thing about this is that Zillow is now a licensed brokerage, and they rely on an IDX feed. So it's the Internet Data Exchange is what IDX means, and that means that all their data comes from the MLS. So Rex has chosen not to be on Zillow because this all just happened in the past 12 months. But Zillow was not a brokerage and was not hiring agents 12 months ago. So now what's happened is they've chosen, and this is the thing no one's talking about, they've chosen to say, hey, we're not going to participate in the MLS. So we can be on Zillow's website, but we're not going to be the IDX feed, because if you search a home on Zillow, there's agent listed properties and then there's other. And they are on other right now, along with for sale by owner. That's their bone to pick here. And while they won this lawsuit, and look, they got what they wanted because we're talking about it, right?
Right.
So by filing this lawsuit, they're looking for publicity. Their issue is ultimately that Zillow has rules to follow. Zillow has a different set of rules than they used to because they're a licensed brokerage now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question about it. So, it's nice that they come out and they say, "Oh, it's all self-serving," and this isn't good for consumers. And Zillow basically said Rex's claims are without merit, and they're required. And as MLS participants, we are required to abide by the MLS rules and regulations. And we are always advocating for rules that benefit our consumers, the entire industry, and drive innovation for all. So, the funny thing about this, too, is that there are plenty of discount brokerages that will list their properties in the MLS. There's a ton of them.
So you have to wonder why Rex won't participate in the MLS.
Well, let's go to their website. And
Okay.
they actually answer this for, at least their PR. They have 18 frequently asked questions, and it's on their website. So Will my home go into the MLS? No. With the traditional real estate model, real estate agents search for properties on what is known as the MLS, which discloses property details as well as a set percentage they will earn if they close on that home. The hidden agent database, it's not hidden, by the way. It's distributed everywhere. You can look at it on Zillow, Trulia, anywhere you want. The hidden agent database is the reason commissions have skyrocketed over time. Commissions are trending downwards over the past 30 years, not up. Rex disagrees with this model, not only because it is a huge disadvantage to sellers who do not wish to pay 6% to sell their home, but also a huge disadvantage to buyers who are at the mercy of their agents' paychecks. With Rex, commission is not a factor at all. We market our homes to all the buyers and not just a select few agents. I would argue that they're doing their sellers a disservice by not having it on all the websites.
Mm-hmm.
When you look for a home listed by, you can't find it anywhere.
Right.
I mean,
so how's that helping your seller?
What I know is that 98% of all the homes that sold last year, they involve both a listing agent and a buyer's agent. And there's no doubt you can sell a home on your own. We just talked about it in the last segment. We bring buyers to for sale by owners. Mm-hmm. So, whatever they want to say here, I can tell you the integrity of our organization is we got to do what's best for the client. And we've done it over and over again as long as we've been around. So my point here is that without having maximum exposure, you don't get the best result. It's easy to leave money on the table right now because the market is so frothy. The market is so incredible. And without having max exposure with a lead up, with someone that knows how to market a home, not just put it in their system here, you're leaving money on the table as a seller because the sellers that sell for the most are the ones that have the most people come look at their home and have the most offers come in. And they're taking out a huge percentage of that. Now, if they got a problem with the MLS and want to fight that, that's a different story. Mm-hmm. But to say we're not marketing to a select few agents, we market our homes to all buyers. Well, all the eyeballs are on Zillow right now. They're not on wherever the heck Rex is doing it. So let's answer their next FAQ, and I want to hear your take on this. So how do people see my home if it's not on the MLS? Simply put, home buyers are not shopping on the MLS. This antiquated network for homes is only accessible by agents who pay a monthly premium for its use and only works in certain counties. There's an MLS in every county in the U.S., except New York City that I know of. All home buyers and more agents than ever are shopping on Zillow, Trulia, Homes.com, where all the now this doesn't say this here. This is where all the MLS listings get distributed, and other home search sites to find the perfect home using their custom parameters. From there, we locate other buyers whose criteria match your home and market directly to them as well. What do you think about that?
I think it's pretty vague. I still want more information. Like, where is my house going to be listed? Not, provide some definitive websites or marketing areas. Where is my house going to be listed?
Well, and what they're talking about is factually inaccurate. I mean, people are, how many times do you get a call or from a client that you're working with? Hey, I sold this on Zillow, or I sold it on Trulia, or one of these other sites. I mean, it happens all the time. And then a lot of data is inaccurate, and we have to give them the right information, which is a whole other story.
Correct.
So here's the next question. Would my home sell faster if it was on the MLS? Our days on market are typically competitive with the MLS, but in some cases, we may see a slower ramp-up period or even slower market presence. The good news is that by saving an average of 4% of the sale price off your home, you will see more highly qualified and motivated buyers come in for showings and less window shoppers. While a typical MLS property sees one offer every 10 buyer showings, our offer is 1 to every 3. That means 67% fewer strangers walking through your home. What do you think about that?
Well, I think the more buyers that are through your home, the more that there's going to be, and you'll have a greater chance of multiples, and you'll definitely do better as far as the sale price.
So let me ask you a question. So if we get an offer after 3 showings on your home, so I've sold a home for you before, or we got an offer after 10 showings. Which one are you? I mean, how are you going to feel about the offer after 3 versus offer after 10?
Offer after well. What do you mean? It depends on the offer.
Well, that's my point, right? So if you're only you only have 2 other opinions or 2 other pieces of feedback, you don't have the same data that helps you make a better decision as a seller. Correct. I'd rather have, if I know 9 people passed on my property and the offer may not be what I wanted, but it's there, I'm much more likely to work with that offer than, there's only been 3 showings. This offer's a little lower. You're not getting that same exposure. So, that to me is an issue here. So, I mean, when you go through this, I just don't, I'm not really, seeing how the how they do this. The last question I'll bring up is, how is Rex marketing my home? Instead of using the MLS and simply waiting for an agent to arrive, we aggressively go after buyers using big data, retargeting, and other digital marketing techniques that build a pool of valuable candidates. We will provide you with a seller's dashboard, which will update these figures in real time so you always know what avenues are working best for your home. What do you think about that?
Well, weren't they pulling from Zillow? That's like that's like their top one.
Anyone that says they're using big data, retargeting, and other digital marketing techniques, it sounds like a lot of industry jargon. Like it's people things people say to make it sound like they know what they're talking about. I need specifics. I mean, and the more specific you are, the more likely it is your plan's going to work. So, my view of this is that I've seen these discount companies come and go for the 20 years I've been doing this, and in a market like this, they become really prevalent because people think it's easy. And what sellers don't realize and buyers don't realize, or people that use these, I shouldn't say all, I'm being too general. The people that use these companies don't realize is that 98% of all the homes that sold last year involved both a listing agent and a buyer's agent, meaning less than 2% only involved the buyer agent or no agent at all. And those homes ended up selling anywhere from 9 to 17% less than what they could have gotten had they had someone aggressively marketing their home. So I just don't see how.
Money.
Well, and are the costs less? Absolutely. Are the proceeds higher? The answer is no. Let me give you a case study here, and I think this is when we can maybe kind of, and I'll get your take on it. So we recently sold a home. We're closing on it tomorrow. We had a discount brokerage come in with the buyer. That's where a lot of those guys make their money, because they get it on the, or they complain about the fee being offered out. That's where they make their money, right? And what ended up happening was I think we had 15 people come through, no offers on the table, and without any communication from the agent. And it was a Redfin agent, without any communication from an agent, without any knowledge or a phone call or anything. This offer just comes into my email. I'm like, great, let's take a look. So it's above the asking price. However, we had 14 other people that passed on the home, which is enough to generate, like that tells you that the price may or may not be right. And they cost their buyer money. The sellers would have accepted the asking price. I wouldn't have told them that, but they could have came in at the ask if they knew there's no other offers in yet, because realtors can't intentionally mislead people. So, I mean, to me, that's a great example of all this, big data and retargeting stuff sounds great. They don't have the knowledge of how to operate in a real estate transaction. Exactly. And that's where you can cost yourself money. I mean, right there, it cost that buyer money. And they didn't even know.
A phone call would have, just reaching out to the agent
and asking, hey, do you have any other offers? And if I said, I can't disclose that to you and the seller doesn't want me to, that's one thing. Normally sellers want to disclose the existence of multiple offers because ultimately it's up to the seller. Normally they want to disclose that because it gets you better price and better terms. So that's a great example of companies like this that are a bit of a challenge. So what do you think about this whole op-ed after, when we went through and kind of picked apart their site here? What do you think about all this before we wrap up? I mean, do you think there's any merit here? Is this going to go anywhere?
I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but I think it is definitely getting some advertising for Rex. I think that's, there might be some people that they're looking at this and they're going to investigate Rex and see if they could utilize their services. But I don't think it's going to go anywhere with Zillow.
Another nonsense lawsuit in the real estate industry. So on that note, what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break here. We got Kevin Hamill from Alliances Insurance coming on next. He's going to talk to us about clue reports, flood insurance, all sorts of things that people don't even think about when they're buying a home, and it could be costing them money. So we'll be right back on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Mortgage America is MLS 12850.
The real estate market is red hot. Have you considered taking advantage? Call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX at 610-692-6976 or visit our website, tomtoole.com, to connect and take advantage of these market conditions.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliances Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that
We'll intro
settlement
you.
table.
You got to put your headphones
Call us to find out
Um,
more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
Welcome back. Delaware Valley, Greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. We got Kevin Hamill from Alliances Insurance in here as well. We're going to talk to him in a second. And we are on WWDB AM. Again, if you got questions for Kevin, email us at info@tooletimeradio.com. We got these cool new laptop. I don't even know what to call them, but they're there. So you can remind you while we're on the show.
Thanks, Val.
Yes. Thank you, Valerie. Great job. And what I want to talk about real quickly is that, when it comes to homeowners insurance or insurance in general in the real estate transaction, people kind of it's like an afterthought. Is that a fair? I mean, I see Stacey saying yes.
Yeah.
Kevin's yes. Kevin's a yes there too. So talk about, maybe some of the pitfalls you can run into when getting homeowners insurance on your primary residence, because it's almost like, I'm just going to call whoever does my car insurance. It's kind of what a lot of people do. We don't operate that way, and we've got some value adds here. But I want to get your take on this, Kevin, because everyone talks about inspections and getting the property and mortgages, but insurance is like people don't even remember to get it sometimes. I feel like it's really an afterthought.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. One of the worst things that I have seen are people saying, "Oh my God, I had no idea about this insurance, and I'm closing tomorrow." Well, now they didn't. It's great for me because I could shop it with all the various carriers that we have in our network. But at the end of the day, it's almost they themselves are going to have to just settle with whatever quote they get from whatever agency. And one of the biggest pitfalls is if the property that they're currently in has some claims, if they've filed some insurance claims, and then the property that they're purchasing also has some claims on it, then that property can be uninsurable, or they just can't afford the insurance. And now the whole deal is blown up, and they don't realize this until a week or 2 days before they have to go and settle. One of the ways that we have tried to avoid this for buyers, and especially for Tom and his buyers, we offer a complimentary clue report. The clue report's basically like a Carfax, but it's more for homes. It discloses all of the claims that were placed on the property 5 years. 5 years is that magic number. After 5 years, then the insurance company can no longer prorate for the claim, and it doesn't show up. One of the things with the clue report, though, is you have to have a financial interest in the property. So it's not something that you could just pull off of any property that's out there. You have to have a financial interest because there are privacy issues. I suggest that, and everyone on your team does a great job of getting the information over to us as soon as they close and within that 10-day inspection period. Because, believe it or not, there are people out there that lie, Tom.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mention that, because this has come on. Stacey, I don't know if you've ran into this, but when you pull this clue report, so it basically tells you if there's been any claims over the past 5 years. There's a question on the seller's disclosure in Pennsylvania that says, "Are you aware of any insurance claims?" And I've seen people answer no, and then the clue report comes up, and they need a new roof, right? Or they've got to get something repaired, especially with that hailstorm that happened a couple years ago. That was a major issue in parts of Chester County. So, it is a protection for the buyer. And if you're doing that up front, instead of waiting till the last minute, and Stacey, I'd love you to chime in on this too. Like, it still gives your people a chance to make a decision instead of, hey, I'm stuck with this property now and there's nothing I can do, and I might lose my deposit money if I blow out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always a good idea because then you can refer to the seller's disclosure and compare the clue report to that and just make sure everything is aligned and there's nothing missing, nothing that's been passed over. So I think it's a great idea. But yes, a lot of times the buyers do wait till the very last minute to even consider insurance. And it's only because their mortgage company is telling them, "Oh, can I get a copy of of your new policy? What are you talking about?" So yeah, it happens a lot.
Yeah, and it could be used as a bargaining chip as well. Like, hey,
Mhm.
there was a claim on this property. I didn't have any idea. Um, Also, when people get claims and they get the money, the proceeds from the claim, they don't use the proceeds from the insurance company
Yeah.
to fix the problem,
Right.
right? And what's the biggest thing, worry or concern would be a water claim,
Mhm.
because water is one of the nastiest things out there. Mold.
Mhm.
Now you're just dealing with it if you can't have somebody come out there and do a mold test,
Mhm.
or ask the inspector to, you know, try and find out if there is any suspicious of mold in the home.
Yeah, so if you knew about a broken pipe, that kind of thing that happened,
Mhm.
somebody's kitchen flooded
Well, it
into
doesn't
the
say
family
exactly
room.
like what's on the kitchen. So again, still privacy. It'll say whether or not it was on or off the property.
Mhm.
It gives you the date of when it happened, how big the claim was, and what the claim was for.
Yeah, and then
That's
from
good
there, there's
information.
there's the disclosure requirements. So please
Right.
explain this. So
Mhm.
then that's where the real estate side comes in. And to me, the reason that the pitfall happens, where people wait till the last minute, is that agents just don't get the proper training. They don't understand what the insurance contingency means in the agreement of sale. And that's one of the things we do at our team as part of our training. So if you're thinking about getting into real estate and you don't have a license or you don't know what to do, check out realestatescholarshipprogram.com. We're providing training. We're providing the ability to get your license, no cost on your end. So realestatescholarshipprogram.com. But back to water. So so the claim comes up, they have to disclose it. Water, I know, is a big issue, and I think flood insurance is another thing people don't talk about enough here. A lot of homes are in flood zones, more than I would have expected before I got into real estate. So I know you've got some ability to do some things differently with private flood insurance
Yep.
versus. Why don't you explain that? Because this is another thing people don't know about, and they think they get stuck with these high policy premiums.
Yeah, so FEMA no longer has the monopoly on flood insurance. Before, if you needed flood insurance, you go to FEMA. Didn't matter what agency you went to, you were getting the same premium no matter what, because they were the only ones issuing the policies. Obama actually changed all of that when he was in office, and now we have private flood insurance policies where we could, uh, depending on which flood zone it's in, um, save up to 38% off of a FEMA flood policy, which is substantial when you're talking about, $4,000 or $5,000 premiums, right?
Mhm.
It also waives the need for an elevation certificate, which can also be a pain because you have to hire somebody to go out there and do all the elevation measurements. And actually, right now is the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season has officially arrived, and um,
Mhm.
one of the stats that I saw, I can't find it right now, but it was 5 of the 7 major hurricanes have happened in our area since 2014. So 5 of the 7 most catastrophic hurricanes have happened in the last 7 years. The weather's just getting worse, as you can see.
Well, I mean, it's something. I mean, you look at Hurricane Sandy. I mean, that decimated the East Coast, and
Mhm.
and so flood insurance again. 38% savings is a big deal. And is there any difference in the coverage there from a FEMA policy versus a private policy?
Well, it's funny you say that, Tom. With the private policy, FEMA's dwelling, which is for the structure for your building, for your house, the max is $250,000. Doesn't matter if you live in $1 million house, FEMA policy $250,000. With the private flood, you can actually purchase additional insurance on top of the $250,000. You can add swimming pool clean out. It is a much more substantial policy as well, comprehensive. It covers a lot more things. Um, I just don't understand why nobody would go forward with it. When it was first introduced, mortgage companies weren't really accepting it as part of the requirements. But now that has all been resolved, and every bank out there now accepts the private flood insurance.
I mean, it seems like a no-brainer. I mean, everything we're talking about here, to me, it's just common sense.
Yep.
And
But people don't know about it.
well,
Tom,
that's the point, is that no one talks about it, no one knows about it, and it's an afterthought, which is why we're excited to have you on here. So you have private flood insurance is one way you can save a lot of money. Clue reports, I mean, that to me is again something you want to do up front, so you know what you're getting into with the property, because especially you're buying a bigger home. I mean, there could be repairs required. There could be other things that are going to cost you money. What other things should people be aware of? And we've got just about 7 minutes here. What do you think people should be aware of when they're shopping for homeowners insurance?
Well, one of the biggest pitfalls that I get, or one of the most common misconceptions that buyers have when purchasing homeowners insurance, is the value of their house should be the same as the coverage amount. So you bought the house for $500,000, but now I'm giving you a proposal and the replacement cost is $750,000, and people are, whoa, what do you mean? Which some of the big box stores will actually say, all right, well, I'll just put down $500,000 then. They're not covered properly. When they go and the house, God forbid, burns down to the ground, they're not going to have as much money as they thought or they need to rebuild the home. So market value and reconstruction value are totally different. Because if I had my house here in Exton, it's $500,000 market value. If that was in Camden, New Jersey, that might be $250,000. But if it was in Bel Air, California, now I'm looking at $1 million. So you can't really use the market value.
Probably more than $1 million when you're hanging out with the Fresh Prince. So.
And then one of the other things that would make
so wait, let's just say that. So replacement cost versus market value are not going to be the same.
They're not, never, absolutely never. I mean, sometimes it'll be lower, but more times than not, it's going to be higher because we're factoring in things like the availability of labor and materials, which nowadays everybody knows that's far between. It's pretty tough to get lumber and things like that these days. Also, fuel costs, special characteristics, net down the house completely, cleaning up the debris. How easy is it to access your house? Those types of things come into play as well.
Got it.
But you're saying is one of the big things, I think, and it's newer to the homeowners industry, cyber liability, and I mean that's on the news almost every day with the cyber attacks.
So tell us about cyber liability for someone that's never heard of that before. How would you explain that?
Cyber liability basically protects you from having a cyber attack. One of the biggest things is somebody everything that you have on. Hey, I have everything. You can't access any of your phone. Would like to send me a check for $5,000 and we'll release them, right? Well, the cyber life, while it also helps you protect it up front with different things, sort of giving you tips and what you should do to protect your computer, they'll negotiate with the people that are holding the things for ransom. And that's just one example, but that's very big in the business world. But now I've like three of my carriers have now added it to their homeowners policy, which I think is huge.
A lot of people are working from home.
Yes.
And if you have a home-based business,
good point.
I mean, that's huge. That's everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
So protecting against a cyber attack, it sounds like something off of a TV show, but I mean, it's real life. I mean,
real.
and no one has these things in paper anymore. So, and you mentioned some other things too. So you want to be aware of cyber liability, private flood insurance, checking out about any claims that could affect your ability to insure the property. Anything else people need to know? We got a couple minutes left here that they're buying a home, they're applying for homeowners. What other things should they be looking at, or what advice do you have for someone?
So
that's in this spot?
there's two coverages that I believe should be automatically included in homeowners policies. The first one is backup sewer.
Okay.
So the
big problem in Philadelphia, by the way.
Huge. I mean, and this is during Katrina or Sandy, you brought that up earlier. 60% of the claims that were actually filed that year were for sewer. So it means the sewer backs up, has nowhere to go. So it's going to go into your basement. If you do not have this endorsement policy, you're SOL, unfortunately.
So you're in trouble. Is what he means there.
Trying to bring a little
pun
life.
intended, yeah.
And I mean, that goes from my daughter. We had this issue. My daughter, she went to the bathroom in the middle of the night. She washed her hands. She forgot to turn the water off to the sink.
Wow.
The sink overflowed, and it went all down through my drywall from the second floor all the way down to the basement. If we didn't have that coverage, again, we would have to pay for that out of our pocket. And then another new coverage that has sort of hit the industry is service line coverage. It provides coverage for everything that services the house that's buried under the ground, specifically the sewer line coming from your house out to the street and from the street into your house. That's huge because you have that clean out valve, right? Especially in like Havertown and those types of areas. When those people had their houses built, there was a clean out line in the front yard and it looked ugly. It was an eyesore.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, hey, why don't we plant a tree in front of it? Great idea.
Right.
Now I don't see it anymore. But now we're looking at 30, 40 years down the road. This tree's growing. The roots are getting bigger. They have nowhere to go except through the pipe.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you don't have this coverage, you can get it through your utility company, like Aqua or something like that. But it's actually a little bit more expensive. I suggest going through the homeowners insurance or at least comparing it. But that's coverage. I mean, that's a $10,000 job right there that they have to dig up in your front yard, and you could be on the hook for it. And for, I mean, I think it's as little as $120 for the year. Now you're protected.
Well, and it's always worth it when that's all it costs.
Yeah.
So on that note, Kevin, how do people get in touch with you?
Email khamill@alliancesinsurance.com, or you can give us a call at our office at 610-816-0043.
All right, we're going to wrap it there this week, Philadelphia. If you got a question, a topic, or you want to reach out to us directly, email us at info@tooletimeradio.com. Find us on Facebook at Tom Toole Sales Group, or you can follow myself or Stacey on Instagram. I am at Tom Toole 3RD. There's an E at the end of Toole, and she is at the number 2, Mitch, Mitchco. We'll be back next week. Thanks for tuning in.